You know, since it's KC Cup season, after KC Cup, they practically always do a ban list, so this is a wish list slash prediction. I'm going to go through most of the top tier decks and follow up on what I would hit for them so they can just be fair. But obviously, unlike the massacre of the ban list of the previous real ban list, those were very rough hits because they had no other choice. I wouldn't be surprised if there would be similar drastic hits, but I don't think it's too necessary for the most part. But you know, only time can tell. Now, there are actually two decks here in the tier list I don't think requires any hit. Water Xyz just barely made it top cut, and it could even just not appear at all later, but it's still good. It did better than Photons as I expected. I don't know why people complain about Photons. And then there's Invoke Neos, which had a huge absence in KC Cup. Haven't seen a single one. Interesting. Also, Noble Knights were rare in KC Cup for some reason as well, but maybe people just don't like to play again with it, but they're still around. But anyway, with that said, let's talk about all of the other decks in the tier list of what I wish would get hit. Let's just address the elephant in the room, Blue Eyes White Dragon. Like always, it has been that one weird deck that becomes relevant very briefly, but that could just possibly just not be the case anymore. While a lot of top decks can deal with it, the problem is that it's the same reason, despite relevancy in the meta, it's just annoying to deal with, just like Dark Magician did. Now, not in the same scale of power, because Dark Magician was just actually degenerate, didn't let almost anything play at all. Blue Eyes, it's different. It's way too swarmy, and it's just very nearly impossible to push unless you're just aggressive yourself. With other decks would get hit, this honestly has to get hit too. But the main issue is, it just got a structure deck. And almost every fucking card is a reprint. What can you hit? To me, the real issue card here is between Card of Consonant and Ancients. But I think what needs to be addressed is Whitestone of Ancient. It's possible that they will just curveball a semi-3 limit spot with whatever other card they want to for Ancients. One card they can semi-limit for sure is Sage, since that is a main box card. A very old one as well. And you know, maybe you could force them to play Maiden. Not because Maiden is that good, but you know, they made it a UR. Might as well force them to play the UR. So, yeah. Another card, but honestly, semi-limit does nothing, right? Well, that's because I'm predicting that Karma Cut just really has to get semi-limit. Now, it has nothing to do with the banish itself, because, yeah, that's good. Probably too good. But it's not really even the banishing part of the card, because I could care less about a card that discards and removes something. Raigeki Break, in my opinion, is slightly better as it can hit more than just monsters. The main issue with Karma Cut is that it discards. And how is that an issue? Well, it's not just Blue Eyes, but Noble Knights and Desperado also just gains advantage from the discard. And Karma Cut is already a card that people really wants to see hit, and I think it kinda needs to get hit. Especially when certain top decks gains advantage that they shouldn't for such a powerful card. With all these three decks in question. This is why I say at least you can semi-Sage, because it's the safest hit. It's not from a structure, it's not a reprint, it's nothing. It's an old box, they had their time. But would it kill the deck? No, it won't kill the deck at all, but you know, when a deck can summon a lot of big monsters, can defend itself with Spirit Dragon, bouncing into Azure, and you know, all the things Blush can do, they don't need Karma Cut at all. They don't. They just do. Now, this still means they have Raigeki Break, but in that sense, it's less annoying to deal with, so it's not killing the deck entirely. And the same can be said for Noble Knight. And on to that topic, I have actually no idea what I would hit in a Noble Knight deck, but certainly something semi-limit. Even regardless of Karma Cut, I still think something will work. Now, they mostly play Raigeki Break, and if it ends up that they do semi-limit both Raigeki Break Karma Cut, you know, I wouldn't mind that happening, but still, I think the same issue is that they discard a trap they searched, and they gain advantage from that, of course. But what is the Noble Knight card to semi-limit? Well, the other reason why a Noble Knight card should also have a semi-limit, I don't think this is a type of deck that should have True Nade. They have such a powerful turn 1 board. No thank you. I don't like them having True Nade for very free aggressive plays. And unlike Thunder Dragons and Animats, where they could fail OTK and they don't really have the safest of plays, especially Animats, Noble Knights do. Noble Knights has all the safe plays they can do. They have so many ways to stall and regain resources. I don't think they should be allowed to discard nor even have True Nade for that matter. But I guess the Noble Knight card in question is between 3 things, and all these 3 things will be semi-limited. Either the Noble Knight Trap card would be semi-limited. This means I can't play 3 copies on the balance build, so they have to play other traps. And considering that they can't play Karma Cut anymore, presumably, that means they have to put in even more other traps. Most likely, maybe something like Hollow Life Barrier, just because they want something to discard. It's not as annoying, but that could force them to play that. Another thing I would say is hit Destiny. Out of all the equipped cards, Destiny truly is the most annoying. It's hard to deal with a monster that not just has protection, but they could just also go into monsters that will just have floating effects anyway, making it annoying to deal with. Now, this is where people would say Karma Cut is important to have, but there are many ways to get rid of these monsters without your banishing Karma Cut. Cards like Malevolent Sin helps out with that a lot with many other decks, not just Animats. A lot of decks can just straight up play that and just get rid of it. It's not a permanent way to get rid of it, but hey, if you can push lethal with it, that's good too. And it gets rid of the equips as well. So, not really the necessary evil that Karma Cut even is, or used to be. But the other card in question is Merlin. Now, this is weird because it is hitting a structure deck card, but I think having them dealing with a semi-limit spot and hitting the consistency is probably where it will hurt Noble Knight enough. And only really in practice we get to see that. I still think they're gonna do very nutty plays. They'll probably drop down the deck into like 25 card size balance. Presumably, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, they need something, and it's between Destiny, their trap, and Merlin. I see no other reason. Plus the Karma Cut being semi-limited. Because they really don't need it. They have so many ways to get rid of cards. They have a card that bounces. They don't really even need Karma Cut. They only play it for the advantage of discarding the trap, which is also what they shouldn't do either. It's too much to deal with. So with Desperado, there's a lot of routes to go from, because the first issue, mine personally, is that this Cup of Ace bullshit really shouldn't go. If going +1 with no effort is such a big deal that Pot of Greed is banned, of course, for good reasons, because they don't want it to be seen in every deck, why should Cup of Ace be? Now you can argue it's because only one deck has the only one deck with Pot of Greed, should I say. And sure, whatever, but maybe it's for the sake of him having a semi-limit spot and that's why they don't bother, which in my case is lazy, because you could just switch the semi-limit spot and address it even further. You could ban this, if anything. But let's keep Cup of Ace, because there's other cards that I do believe are actually worse after talking to people here and there. As much as I hate Misjudge, with other decks having their way of outing it, so it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is a sure bother. But I can say that about the entire deck. Well, I honestly think the deck is pretty much a joke. I don't think the deck's actually good. The deck's carried by luck, and it's carried by the Cup of Ace as well. and the skill. The deck itself is just pure trash in my opinion if it wasn't for the skill. But one card I do say does have to go is Head Judging. Head Judging, complete ban. Because it's really just 50-50 win or just keep your game going. So they don't lose. It's just a setback. But if they get it off, they might as well just win the duel there, and that's not really fun. No other cards with coin flip effects that they play has that level of power, because most of them are just popping. One in particular is a negate that you can, in quotations, play around because you can just force it away. This is not the case. They don't just negate it, but they steal it. And yeah, they might as well just kill you and you don't have plays either. It's not really fun. Head Judging really is the card that has to be completely banned. And with Karma Cut being semi-limited, this means because they have Cup of Ace, they don't have access to Karma Cut either. So it does hit them. No more free. They already search with Machina. I hate when people say Machina, stop it. But yeah, they already have Machina, which I don't complain about. It's an actual synergy. It's not just randomly using a discard cost to gain advantage and disrupt an opponent. Stop it, I hate that stuff. And the deck already pluses too much as it is with Cup of Ace in the first place. I don't think they should have access to Karma Cut. So yeah, that's about it, all I can say about Desperado. No hate, it's a joke deck. The only deck here that I hate is Blue Eyes, but enough of that. Now, I don't think Thunder Dragons will get hit, but the only reason I have to mention it is from the same mentality of that if they hit the other decks, they kinda have to hit this, because it would become the best deck. Now, luckily, the deck doesn't play Karma Cut, and at the same time, it shouldn't be playing Karma Cut due to, you know, the whole milling, but that it's also something. If they hit all the other decks, this has to be hit just so it won't be too aggressive. So, people would say, well, I would say, a degenerate will just say, hit the levy, and to that I say, no, you're an idiot. You just want to kill a deck instead of addressing the issue. The reason Levy is so easy is because of Charge of Light Brigade, so just literally semi-limit anything they play at 2 or 3, and that's all you really need to do. And it really wouldn't be killing the deck, because you can just play 3 Raidens and you still have Loop Line. It only really sets back that doing Levy on turn 1 isn't easy, but it's also not impossible either, considering that you have ways to do it, especially combination of raiding with Melody of Awakening is already summoning Levy, especially if Melody of Awakening is literally the only spell they play, you guarantee that you will summon a Levy that turn. So it's not all hope lost. But it's interesting to say, because it really just is slightly less aggressive, or maybe less aggressive from a lot. But maybe we'll see more Chaos Sorcerer or other things. They can still do a 1 turn, they can still other Chaos Monsters, and they can still do turn 1 Xyz with Loop Line. It's just the sake of being less aggressive. I think Charge of Light Brigade is too powerful. If it could be any semi-limit, I don't think Loop Line's the right choice, but it is an option. Roar or Dark, whichever of the two being semi-limited works as well. And just so they don't use charge, just so they can have a hit, and that makes them less aggressive, and we all know that the deck will not be dead for sure, don't. But, who knows, we'll see. Now, Onomats literally just got support over everything else, so I completely doubt it will get hit, but if it's for the sake of saying nobody wants to see this deck with Hate Trunade, then I don't know. You tell me if there's anything worth semi-limiting, but at the same time, I don't think so. It's just taking away the ability to Hate Trunade. That's about it. And I can't really think of a hit, but it's only fair to say if they're gonna hit all the other decks, Onomot could get hit too. The deck relatively already existed for a long time, it's just got powerful. But if all of these hits were to happen, Onomot might be the best deck. Not entirely, I still think it may have troublesome matchup even with Noble Knights. Despite the Karma Cut loss, they still have Raigeki Break, and among other things. And even if they can turn 1 Bouncer, and that's really good, they still don't want to go first at all. So, I don't know. Bolt? I guess semi-limit Bolt, but that's an SR. I don't know. Draw, Bolt. One of those two would work, definitely. Cut the Bolt, and making them cut the Bolt entirely. By doing so. Not so sure. It's just a mention to be a fair mention. But I don't know what they would hit. I really don't know. None of the new cards. The structure deck's not necessary. Utopic, Spoopy, or Overkill. Not so sure. But that's it. I don't have anything to mention between the obvious certain cards. Kinda just shouldn't be enough for beating a limited list anymore, but I'm not gonna bother mentioning that. I just wanted to address all of the top tier decks, and I want to know what you guys think. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, very well.